The 230th Battalion was an infantry battalion of the Australian Army that served during World War II. Raised in late 1940 as part of the all-volunteer Second Australian Imperial Force, the battalion formed part of the 27th Brigade, which was assigned to the 8th Division. In mid-1941, the battalion was deployed to Malaya as the garrison that was increased amidst rising tensions in the Pacific. In early 1942, it fought against the Japanese during the Malayan Campaign and the Battle of Singapore, where it was captured in February 1942. Many of the 230th's personnel died in captivity before the war ended in August 1945. History. Formed on the 22nd of November 1940 at Tamworth, New South Wales, the battalion was part of the 27th Brigade of the 8th Division, a unit of the all-volunteer Second Australian Imperial Force. The battalion drew its personnel from the state of New South Wales, recruiting mainly from Sydney and several regional areas including Wagga Wagga, Goulburn and Dubbo. The colours chosen for the battalion's unit colour patch were the same as those of the 30th Battalion, a unit which had served during World War I before being raised as a militia formation in 1921. These colors were purple and yellow, in an upright rectangle shape, although a border of gray in an oval shape was added to the UCP to distinguish the battalion from its militia counterpart. The oval border denoted that the battalion was an 8th Division unit, with an authorized strength of around 900 men. Like other Australian infantry battalions of the time, the battalion was formed around a nucleus of 4 rifle companies, designated A through to D, each consisting of 3 platoons. Under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Galligan, the battalion completed its training around Bathurst, New South Wales, after moving there in early 1941. As concerns about Japanese intentions in the Pacific grew, it was dispatched to Malaya in late July 1941 to carry out garrison duties, along with the rest of the 27th Brigade, where it joined the 22nd Brigade, which had been dispatched earlier in the year. Following Japan's entry into the war in December 1941, the 230th Battalion fought in Malayan Campaign, participating in the battles at Jemonche Bridge, Jemas, Air Hitaman, Singapore. The fighting around the Jemonche Bridge was the most significant action, taking place on the 14th of January 1941. It was the first major action undertaken by Australian forces during the fighting in Malaya. As the Japanese streamed south towards Johor, the battalion was tasked with carrying out an ambush around a cutting on the Jemas-Tampan Road, to inflict heavy casualties before withdrawing. The ambush proved a considerable success, resulting in between 600 and 1,000 casualties for the Japanese and the destruction of several tanks and armoured vehicles. Nevertheless, the British and Commonwealth forces were steadily forced back off the Malay Peninsula and withdrew across the causeway to Singapore Island. After the withdrawal to Singapore, the 230th Battalion took up a defensive position near the causeway, as the Australian forces were assigned to the northwest sector of the island. Within this area, the 27th Brigade adopted a position east of the Kranji River, with the 22nd on its left. When the Japanese attack came on early in the morning on the 8th of February, the main thrust fell on the 22nd Brigade's position and they were steadily forced back. On the 10th of February, the Japanese launched a second wave against the 27th Brigade's sector, and after a brief but futile fight, the 230th was forced to withdraw from the causeway back towards Bukit Mandai as its flanks became exposed. The fighting continued for another week, during which the British and Commonwealth forces were pushed back south through Bukit Timah towards the urban area on the island's southeast coast. The Australians, under the command of Major General Gordon Bennett, formed a defensive perimeter about 8 kilometres from the centre of the city, in preparation to make a stand, with the 230th establishing itself near the French consulate. But, on the 15th of February 1942, the British and Commonwealth garrison was ordered to surrender by the garrison commander, Lieutenant General Arthur Percival, and as a result, the majority of the battalion was captured and subsequently became prisoners of war. Although some were able to escape and return to Australia, they remained in Japanese captivity for the next 3.5 years, during which over 300 members of the battalion died from disease of brutality. The battalion's final commanding officer was Lieutenant Colonel George Ramsay, who took over command of the 230th on the 9th of February after Galligan was hospitalized. While the battalion was not officially disbanded until the end of the war, it was not reformed after the Malayan Campaign. During the course of the war, the 230th Battalion lost 433 men killed in action or died in captivity, while a further 136 were wounded. The following decorations were bestowed upon 230th Battalion personnel: 1. Distinguished Service Order for Officers of Order of the British Empire, 2 Military Crosses, 2 Distinguished Conduct Medals, 1 British Empire Medal and 16 mentions in dispatches. As of 2008, the battalion's numerical designation was perpetuated by the 230th Training Group, an Australian Army unit stationed in Battalion, Malaysia, which conducts training for forces deployed as part of Rifle Company Battalion. This unit also uses the same unit colour patch as the 230th Battalion. Battle Honours. The 230th Battalion received the following battle honours: Malaya 1941, 1942, Johor, Singapore Island, and Gems. Commanding Officers. The following officers served as commanding officer of the 230th Battalion: Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Gallagher, Blackjack Galligan; Lieutenant Colonel George Ernest Ramsay,